You ready?
It's all right.
All right, Jerry, why don't you start by telling us where you were born and where you lived and...
Born in Bisbee, Arizona, August the 25th of 1931.
Wow, that's a long time ago. What did you say?
No,
Now, was it always a coal mining town?
not coal mining, copper.
Copper.
Copper,
Ah,
gold, turquoise, silver, mainly copper.
and you worked in the copper mine as a boy.
No,
But you wanted to.
no,
You thought about it.
no.
You said, I'm never going to work in that mine. I'm getting out of here as quick as I can.
That would be true.
And so then what happened?
I got out of there.
And so that's how you ended up here, today in Carefree.
Oh, no.
There's some in between you want to talk about.
Do I have to? Yes. You want more about the childhood? You just
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we want to know your mom, your dad.
My dad was born in Yorktown, Texas, and we don't know for sure, in 1900. The reason we don't know for sure because his name never has appeared on the, what do you call it, the records from the,
Mormons.
no, the government.
Immigration records?
No, not immigration records, census.
Oh, really?
Never has appeared on the census.
And your dad's name?
Pee-wee. Ted Bednorz. Theodore. Tatus. He said his name was Tatus.
Tatters.
Tadish. That's Polish for Theodore.
Oh.
And you came over with two brothers from Poland?
No, the other family came from Poland. They were aboard a ship. They were merchants.
What other family? His brothers?
Uncles. Were they uncles, Joe?
His parents.
His parents. And they were merchants, and they were going to land in New Orleans. But there was a hurricane out there. They ended up in Corpus Christi.
From Poland, they were going to go
Right.
to New Orleans?
Right. And so they got off in New Orleans. They had a
Oh,
load
Corpus.
of goods. I mean, in Corpus Christi, they had a load of goods and 2 mules. And they were going to go to San Antonio, Texas. They got as far as Yorktown, and one of the mules died, and they couldn't go any further, so they stayed right there and opened up a business, I guess. That's the story my dad told. And one of his brothers there ran the oil company, Sinclair Oil. And then another brother was a tailor.
And when you say ran Sinclair Oil, the local distributor?
Yes, yes.
What were the brothers' names? Do you know?
I can't recall.
Okay.
Max was the one that was a tailor, and Steve was the Sinclair Oil distributor.
So you never met your grandfather or grandmother?
No. No, I met those 2 gentlemen
In Yorktown?
in Yorktown.
How old were you when you met him?
Well, Max actually lived with us for a while in Bisbee, then he went back to Yorktown. So I knew him when I was a little kid. Then later, after we lived in Houston, Joan and I, your mother went down to Yorktown to see them. But even before that, I went back there.
You lived there, Jerry.
Well, I lived there,
You lived in Yorktown?
yes. First, when I was 6 years old, my folks left Bisbee and returned to Yorktown. And my dad opened up a restaurant there called Eat With
I don't want to correct you, but you're wrong. You were 2 years old.
2? Okay, I was
That
2 years
picture
old.
up there on the wall was in Yorktown.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Harry Met Sally.
Okay, I was 2 years old when we went to Yorktown from Bisbee. And then we came
With
back
your
when
older
I was
sister
6.
then?
He
Huh?
came back to Bisbee when he was 6. His
Good.
sister,
My sister
is
and
3 years
I
old.
and my mom and dad left Bisbee.
So you being Grandma and Grandpa went to Yorktown.
Yes, to Yorktown. My dad opened up a restaurant.
Was he always a cook, or?
No, he said he was a Texas Ranger, for one thing. He was a professional baseball player. He was a gigolo. He ran the railroad cars back and forth. So I don't know
He
what
was
he
a
was.
bum for a while, he said. Just
But why, I mean, why the restaurant?
I don't know. But they opened it up, and we still have his original toaster and coffee pot that was in the restaurant.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Eat with Pee-wees. And then there's a lot of discussion why they left Yorktown to come back to Bisbee. We don't know whether my dad was having an affair or my mother was having an affair.
Oh, the skeletons in the closet.
Yes, but they, nobody knows. Or if they do know, nobody's
Just telling. You gotta tell.
Nobody's telling. So yes, I knew them then, but then I also knew them later. I went back, I guess, in high school for a short period of time.
Just on a summer break?
Yeah. To see him when I stayed there. And Uncle Max, he lived above Steve's garage in a screened-in porch. So I stayed with him for a while.
he never got married.
No, he never got married.
And how old's your sister? Was your sister older than you?
Yes, she was 3 years older. than
And
me.
what's her name?
Beatrice. Beatrice called her B. She always took care of me. She was my protector.
Yeah.
Well, who were Mac and Donata in the relationship?
Cousins. And
So they were cousins.
on what, dad's side?
Mm-hmm.
On my dad's side. Aunt Donata was. What was her mother's name?
Donata was married to one of your uncles.
Donata was married.
Not Donata, Aunt Susie.
Aunt Susie was. Aunt Susie was Donata's
And
mother.
Donata was your cousin.
Of the famous Aunt Susie's cake?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's
So Aunt
it.
Susie was married to one of your dad's brothers.
Right.
Right.
Which one?
One that died very young.
Don't know.
We don't know. I don't
So there
remember
were
his name.
4 brothers.
Yeah.
And one of them died young. And he was married to Aunt Susie,
Right.
and she had Aunt Donata.
Right. she
And a
married
brother.
Mac. Yeah, and her brother, what was his name up in San Antonio?
I don't know, but Donata's husband
Joe?
was Mac. Joe, that's right.
What was their last name? Donata.
Donata's last name was McGrand. Maurice
That's right.
McGrand was.
That's what
But
her
Joe's
brother
name was
came up.
Bednorz.
Joe was
Yeah.
Bednorz.
And they lived in San
He
Antonio.
lived in
And
San Antonio.
they may still be alive.
No.
So
Maurice-
Susie, Aunt Susie, her name was Bednorz then.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. They both, Joey, all of them, remember that she
Oh,
got
cancer.
real sick?
Yeah, they got cancer,
Yeah.
and she died of
Who got cancer?
her brother Joe,
Oh,
Joe.
and Donata died of
Same thing.
I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay. So you
Go
moved
ahead.
back to Bisbee, you were 6 years old, you hadn't even been to school yet.
No.
And you started first grade.
And then they kicked her out, that damn nun.
Yes, in kindergarten, I always went to the Catholic school, St. Patrick's.
In Bisbee?
Yes. And that's why I dislike penguins, because they're nuns.
He saw that on TV. Boy, he's good.
Good. So, went to school there, always walked to school. We never owned a car.
And you
Because
guys
when we
live
were-
up in Tombstone Canyon at that time? Or?
No, we lived on Higgins Hill. But to get from, let's go back to, when we left Arizona, you said, well, how in the hell, if you never owned a car, did you get down to Yorktown? Well, they had a Model T,
Who did?
my dad and mom, and that's how we got
So you drove the Model T from
to
Bisbee to Yorktown?
and drove it back.
And
And
sold it?
I guess that was the end of that, so. But from that point on, as far as I know, we never owned an automobile. My family didn't.
He was too little, but he probably sold it because they didn't have any money.
All right.
And then, so anyway, when we came back,
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
my dad, I think, he started working in the mines. That's why he came to Bisbee originally,
From
Yorktown, was to work in the mines during the Depression. And then they left to go back down, and then when they came back, he went to work back in the mines again.
But he didn't like working in the mines.
No, not really. And then,
Was it underground?
yeah, it was, yeah.
I don't know how they did that.
When did they start the open pit?
Probably in, let's see, probably in the 40s, 45, because the mines closed down in 55.
The underground mines?
Yeah, well, no,
Totally.
totally, all the mines closed.
The open pit closed down
Yeah.
in 55?
Yeah, it might have even been before that. It was pretty close to, I looked in 50, probably around 55, yeah, all the mining ceased.
One who knows more about the mine, of course, is Mike.
Michael.
Sure.
Because he's never left Bisbee. He's lived there all his life.
He's still there.
Still there.
That's the other question. Did you live here all your life? I don't know yet.
I don't know. And then after he left the mines, then he worked for what was then called Arizona Edison,
Uh-huh.
which was the electric company. And then they bought out the gas company too. And then that eventually went to Arizona Public Service.
How'd you guys, what happened after Higgins Hill?
Okay, Higgins Hill was real close to the school,
Uh-huh.
to the
St.
grade
Pat's.
school, to St. Pat's. Yeah, then they bought a house up on Tombstone Canyon. I can't think of the name of that street that it was on.
What about that little bitty house that your Uncle
Okay, I
Jack
was
took us
born,
back?
okay, I thought I was born in Bisbee, but the house was bought a two-bed, not even a two-bedroom, say, 2 or 3 room house, period.
You were born
You're
in
born
that
in a-
house?
You're
No,
born
I
in-
was born in the hospital, but they did not have any incubators. And I weighed 3 pounds.
Wow.
And when they brought me home, my mother kept me on the oven door in a little shoebox. And she would keep turning me. And I keep telling people,
Like a
one
turkey.
time she forgot to turn me and it baked my brain. But that's true. She would keep me on the oven door. And Uncle Jack lived with us at
That
that
was
time.
Uncle Jack.
That's my mom's brother.
Okay.
That's another story. So we lived in this house, my sister, I, Mom and Dad, and Uncle Jack. And then we had a goat, and I was raised on goat milk. But they didn't have an incubator, like I said, so my mom had to bring me home. I was a preemie. And then from there, I guess that's when
All your
they,
brothers were too?
that's, I guess from that point, that's when they moved up to Higgins Hill. And when they came, that was, when I was 2, that's when I moved from that house to Yorktown. We came back, and that's probably when they got the house up there on Higgins Hill, and they were just renting that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved up Tombstone Canyon and bought this house.
But not
Not the big
Not
house.
the big house, this was a little house.
Uh-huh.
And it had a tin roof, and every year we have to paint that damn tin roof. Go up there and put black goop on the nails that
Sure.
would pop up, and then repaint it. My dad somehow would bring home the silver paint. Where he got it, who the hell knows. But we'd have to get there and paint it with that silver rubenized paint. That was hot as hell.
How old were you?
Tell the story about sleeping with your sister on the porch.
And then my sister and I shared a bed in the back part of the house. It was just a screened-in porch,
Uh-huh.
and we had bed bugs.
Higgins Hill.
No,
Oh,
this,
the house up on
yeah,
Tombstone.
Tombstone Canyon.
Got it.
And to keep the bed bugs from coming up, they would put glass jars down with kerosene and put the kerosene in them and put the 4 legs of the bed in those jars to keep the bed bugs from coming up. The wallpaper
Was that
Where-
what you always told us when we were kids, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs
Yeah.
bite?
And then the wallpaper that we had was newspaper funnies. So we make the glue and then just paste them on the
Were
wall,
they color or just
Yeah.
black and white?
black and white. But the screen was actually a screened-in porch and had canvas awnings that you could roll down.
Uh-huh.
Well, one time it was so cold, we went to bed, we had all these feather beds and stuff, my sister and I was sleeping, but we didn't know it was gonna snow, and it snowed, and whoever knows snow can come through a screen. And we woke up and the bed was covered with snow.
What year was that, do you remember?
No,
But you were just a boy,
yeah,
6, 7, 8.
probably.
So did
So I
it snow
can-
often in Bisbee?
Oh, yeah, it's over a mile high, it gets cold. And then my mother would order chickens, 200 at a time, and we'd have to keep them in the house for a couple of weeks. And it gets-
200 chickens?
Yeah.
Chicks.
Chicks.
Chicks, little chicks, not great big
Baby
chickens,
chicks.
baby chicks.
Still a lot.
And we'd bring them home and have the light bulbs in there. You'd water them, feed them, and the newspaper down there, have to change the newspaper out till they got big enough to put outside. And then we had one half, not quite a half of the yard, a fourth of the yard was a pen where they raised chickens. And then on the other side, back by, we had a big shed where they would do the washing. Didn't have a washing machine. Later on, they did get an old machine crank that you could use.
Grandma was at home all this time.
Yeah. One time I tried to help him, I stuck my hand in and was cranking it, and my thumb went up like this, and I tried to crank my thumb on, and then finally it caved and released it and got my hand out. But then
Did
back
it break your
behind,
thumb?
huh?
Did it break your
Yeah,
thumb?
I could take my thumb later and just bend it all the way back and lay it back, or it became
Oh.
double jointed. But then back there, my dad raised rabbits also. And he had a barbecue pit out there. My dad left the barbecue all the time. That was just everything. And he had this old bucket that he mixed up this barbecue sauce in, had an old rag tied to a damn stick, and he'd slosh it on the chicken and the rabbits. And that was great. And the firewood that he would use is old railroad ties that he brought home. Because it caught on fire real easy.
Uh-huh.
And
From all that creosote, the smoke, you know. And then they let me, we had pigeons also, had homing pigeons.
Uh-huh.
And then we had a great big, part of the yard was a big garden. We grew all kinds of vegetables.
This one
And,
is sweet
uh,
still.
You leaned forward. You
It's
made
okay,
that
he's fine. You're doing great.
We grew all kinds of vegetables.
So what was your job on this farm?
Noah's
Everything.
Ark, more like it.
My dad taught me how to skin a rabbit real easy. You take the ice
This
pick.
farm, Gary, couldn't have been more than 10 foot square. I mean, it
I
was,
understand.
yeah.
You take the ice picks and nail it to the wood up here and just slice it down, peel the skin right off, get down to his head and whack his head off. And then for the chickens, they used to have the big old bucket and get boiling hot water and stick chicken in there.
Feathers
to
to pull
peel
right off.
feathers, pull all the feathers off, because people would order chickens, they wanted them clean. So
How old were you when you did all this?
I was a little guy.
Oh, God. Tell about your pet chicken. I think this is the
Well, I had a pet chicken that he adopted me. He followed me wherever I went. This chicken went
He
with me.
knew you weren't skin him if he liked you.
Yeah. So I would even take him to the movies. I put him in a little paper sack and we'd go down and take him to the movies. And
And you and B and the chicken would go down?
no,
together?
B had nothing to do with me at that point. So I'd sit in the balcony and the chicken would walk back and forth in the balcony and poop on the people down below. And I was raised hell because I knew who I was and everything else. And that famous artist, DeGraza, used to run the Bisbee Theater. And in his apartment there, he had all kinds of paintings that he did on the wall. And he used to come and throw me out of the movie house all the time. So that's how I knew him. Well, you go to the movie, I think it was a nickel.
And you made money by selling the chickens?
Yeah, or Coke bottles, scavenging Coke bottles and stuff. And,
Yeah, a lot of jobs. Tell
And
me
then-
about selling your cloverine
Okay.
salve.
Then in that house, we had a basement. But it wasn't a basement, it was a dungeon. It was outside, you had to go down to get it. You couldn't go from the inside the house down there. You'd have to go outside and open up these big old creaky doors, and down it was dark as hell. And then you go down underneath there, and it was cool as could be. We used to make our own root beer. And one time, they put too much yeast in it, and it blew up in the middle of the night. And it was pop, 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 and boy, and it shook the whole damn house.
They
It
called it
exploded.
beer. Root beer. I think it was beer.
We used to make our own root beer. My mother would make her own noodles and then hang them up on the clothesline to dry. And she'd make her own cottage cheese in a big sack, let it drip, drip, drip. You'd have your own cottage cheese. But they didn't have any money. And my mother never worked till later when my dad got sick, and that's when she began to work. But in those days, and then I had a paper route selling the grit. It wasn't a route.
Oh, sure.
Used to just go house to house trying to sell this paper called the
Right.
grit. And then during the war, I sold hosiery, nylon hosiery to the women.
During the war, so you must have been like 10 years
12,
old.
well, I was 4 and 31, wars and 4 with me. I was 10 years old, so I sold hosiery, and then I sold chlorine salve also.
What's cloverine?
Oh, that cures everything. little tubes of chlorine
So it would come in
salve.
the mail, and then you would take it?
Yeah,
and
well,
go
you send in, and you send in so much money, then they send you a tube of this stuff, and you could sell it, double your price, make some money. Sold Christmas cards, all kinds of cards, Easter cards, all,
How many
summer
people
cards.
in Bisbee were there?
Probably, I don't know, 1,000, I don't know. And I had a paper route later for the Bisbee Daily Review, and man, I don't know how far I walked every day doing that.
Were you in high school then?
Yeah, I must have been. And then there was one lady, I tell you, the lady, on the cold day, she's always give me a little glass of Dago Red, so I wouldn't charge her for the newspaper. And then the whores down in Beery Gulch loved me because I'd give them the papers for free.
What'd you get for that?
Nothing, just a look. And
A look, huh?
yeah.
What is this investing?
Huh?
Because you were just investing.
Yeah, I was investing in the
So if
future.
anything happened down the road, you know you'd be taken care of.
And then we used to, down there where most time they delivered the paper pretty close to the house, and you'd come in the house and roll it when it was cold. If not, you could just roll it outside. But a lot of times I'd go down early in the morning and pick up pieces of lead, and we used to melt the lead from the print shop there and make lead soldiers out of them. You had a little deal, you melt it down and pour them
Sure.
in there and make your own soldiers and then paint them. I don't know whatever happened to all that stuff.
Your brothers?
I really don't know.
So when were your brothers born?
So then, let's see. So then we left that house. I'd have to really think of when we left that house to go down to the big house.
When did this Einstein hairdo take place?
It
Oh, sorry.
really is right now, Jerry. It's like,
I think he looks fabulous.
I
I'm
said-
loving these stories.
So then, let's see,
tell
try-
more about your sister that died and your brothers. And
Who,
when they
me?
were- You have a sister that died.
Oh. Okay, it was Dee was first, and then I was second, and in between, we had another sister, and I don't recall her name. She had spina bifida, so she didn't last at all. She right away. And then it was 10 years from myself until my brother that I can remember was born. That's Francis. So if I was born in 31, he was born in 41.
He was born on Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and I can remember that because I went to the hospital to see my mother and Francis, and on the way home, somebody came shooting out of their house. We're at war. The Japanese just bombed Pearl Harbor. And I was right across from the high school. I said, where in the hell is Pearl Harbor? Who knew where in the hell Pearl Harbor
Never
was?
heard of it.
Never heard of it, you know.
You know who the Japanese were, but
You
just
know.
sort of.
Yeah, who in the hell
Well,
is
you was
Pearl
on the
Harbor?
tap?
10 years old. So that's how I heard about the war then. And I wonder if we were living in the new house then. I don't think so. If I would, no, I know we weren't. And then Joe was born in 1943, and that would make me 12 years old. Okay, and then that's when I was in the Boy Scouts, and that's when I got osteomyelitis, which is a disease, a cancer of the bone. And I got that from playing soccer. We used to play soccer, but would wear the steel-tip minor shoes, and you would kick the guy in the shin so you could get the ball away from him. So that's how I think I got it, but I developed it actually when I was at scout camp.
It wasn't from the barbecuing with the railroad ties?
No, I didn't know. So I
This was in the ankle.
developed that up in
So you were
Boy
at
Scout
summer
camp, at summer camp, and they had to bring me home and put me in the hospital. I had a fever of 106. And
Not the oven was the baking problem.
yeah, and my leg was just this big all the way down. And my mother was in the hospital having Joe. So they asked my dad, the only way we can save him is to cut his leg off. That's all they did in those days.
Yeah.
And my dad said, no, that would be too dramatic on my mother to hear that and have that happen while she's in labor having Joseph. So they said, well, we'll operate and we'll see what we can do. I guess when they cut that leg open, it just pus went everywhere. And what they did, they cut a big chunk out of my leg, my ankle, and reconstructed my ankle. I had to have a cast forever, and then had a little window in that cast. But I would go there weekly, and they'd pull that out and fish out pieces of bone. And then
Drain it.
drain it and pull out pieces of bone. And then just to really saved my life and my leg at that time was they got special permission to get penicillin from Fort Huachuca. I was the first civilian in the state of Arizona to get penicillin. And they got that from Fort Huachuca, and that's what saved my life. Because I had a shot in the butt every hour for 24 hours for 3 days straight. Wow. And that stuff, in those days, it was thick. Oh, it looked like it was glue, and it went in so hard to put it in. It took forever to get it in.
You were so little, so skinny.
But that saved my life. And then, when we came home, no, we were still up in the other house then, I know for sure, because that's when we had the 4th of July up there, and the people from Fort Huachuca came and had a 4th of July for me right in our front yard.
A big party for
Had a
him.
big party for
Because
me.
they knew they saved his life.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And your leg.
Yeah. So I used to watch Joe walk, and that's how I learned how to walk again. I say, I thank Joe for teaching me how to walk.
So you're 12 years old,
Yeah. And I learned how to walk all over
so
again.
you're just going
No,
to the
he was
gym
laid
now.
up for about
A year.
A year, he didn't walk.
Did you go to school during that time? Or?
No, I don't think so. I don't
Amazing you
recall.
survived that.
Yeah, I don't recall going to school. So I knew that we were still up in that other house then, so it was after 12. So Joe was born there. And then Michael was the next one 2 years later, so that's when we must have moved down to the other house.
Tell them about going to the seminary.
Well, that's later.
Right.
Well, let's go down to the old house. Let's.
Okay, you're
You want
telling the story.
chronologically.
So we moved. My mother always liked this house, and it was a bigger house that we still own. Mike owns it now. We moved into that house, and I had a back bedroom all by myself. And I thought I was the king of the road. That's when I was in high school. And I could crawl out the window at night and run around and have fun and crawl back the window. They never knew. And my radio,
We know.
yeah,
Yeah, right. We
the
know
radio
about
that I had was a crystal radio. And the antenna, I was strung it from one end of the house to the other end of the house, up above,
Outside?
outside. Yeah, and they had, because copper was easy to come by, copper wire. And that was my entertainment.
All right, you're back on.
Okay, during this period of time, I was still in the Scouts too, and we go all kinds of activities with the Scouts. But then the Eldorado is a big celebration in Tombstone to celebrate their anniversary being found. And in those days, it was wide open. They had wide open gambling, roulette tables, poker tables, slot machines, and drink and everything else. So
Just in Tombstone or
yeah,
all of Arizona?
no, just Tombstone. They call it that. They still have it today, Eldorado Day.
I've heard of Eldorado Day.
Yeah,
But it's no
it's
gambling.
not there like that anymore.
Now, was gambling all the time in Tombstone?
No,
or just
no,
during
just during
Eldorado Day?
Just during Eldorado days. So I went over there on a Friday.
How'd you
And
get there with some buddies? or-
yeah, I guess hitchhiker. Anyway, I
It's
got
only
over
25
there.
miles.
Right.
So I got over
Too far to
there,
walk or ride a bike.
and no, I didn't have a bike, didn't have any transportation. So anyway, got over there, and I had some money, so I started gambling and drinking. Right,
How old are you?
14, 15. Let's see, no, if I was 12, 13, 14, maybe 16.
You went to a seminary in between there.
I don't recall when that was. I'd have to really kind of. Anyway, let me
You were
finish
14,
this.
Yeah,
story.
13 or 14 when you went to a seminary.
So, no, I was after I was in between grade school and high school.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, maybe it was that. Yeah, I went to the seminary before that. Joanie's right. Let's come back to the seminary. Well, let me finish
Yeah.
this
All
story.
right, finish the story.
Yeah, you're right. I'd gone to the seminary before this. So, anyway, knew this girl over there, and her dad ran a little gas station there right as you come into town. It's no longer there. And so she took me home Friday night and let me stay on their couch because I was too drunk to go back to Bisbee. So then Saturday I gambled a bunch more, and I don't know how I got back to Bisbee. I don't know, but I got back to
Maybe
Bisbee.
on the bus.
I don't know. I got back to Bisbee Saturday night and I went to bed. I had money in my shoes, in my socks, in my shorts, in my shirt. I had money everywhere. Well, I felt great, man. Just a young kid had all this money I didn't want. So I wake up in the morning, the money's gone.
Oh my God.
I couldn't figure, where the hell's all my money? So I asked my mother, where the hell's my money? What did you do with my money? She says, well, I went to church and I gave it to God. She said, you sinned, you were drunk, you caroused, and you got to pay for your sins. So I took all your money and I gave it to God. Boy, was I pissed. What could I do? Nothing. That dirty old woman took my money and gave it to God.
That's what a mother would do.
Yeah. So yes, in the meantime, yes, when I graduated grade school, the summer I worked for the priest, Father Howard, to help paint the church outside. Caulk all around all the stained glass windows and caulk them and paint, help paint. And then went to the
What church was that?
St. Patrick's.
Same church.
Yeah, same church.
Is that the church that Monica and her husband got married in?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right next, see, because the church was here and St. Patrick's was right here.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I was telling you before, that during, Easter's, Good Friday, all that, man, you start going to church that Wednesday before and you just lived in church the whole time. Holy Thursday and
Yeah.
Good Friday and all that, you went through everything. Every year you did that. Before you knew.
Because you were an altar boy.
Yeah, but you still went anyway.
Everybody went.
Everybody went.
Yeah.
And then I used to chase the girls back behind the altar and try to get them because that was a neat place. Back there was dark. cool. Never got any girls there. But,
Is it Father Howard?
yeah, Father Howard. He was a
No,
neat
did he get some girls?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. He probably did, because that's another story all by itself, which is sad. Talk about changing your faith. Well, that's another story. But anyway, I went to the seminary. If you can, let's see. How old was I then? Not very
I
damn
thought
old.
you were about 14. It was
Yeah,
after your
probably.
leg healed.
Yeah.
So you went to the
You were
seminary
wrong.
to paint, or just to go spiritually?
I went to the seminary to learn
No,
to
for
be
a
a
year of
priest.
high school.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
The first year of high school, there were 3 of us went, Tony Verdugo, John O'Malley, and myself. And the train used to leave right across from the Lyric Theater in Bisbee. We boarded the train, and then we went to Chicago and had to change trains in Chicago. Then we went to Columbus, Ohio. And then from there, they came and picked us up and went to Worthington, Ohio, which is just east of Columbus. And it's the Pontifical College Josephinum. They're still in business today on the Olentangy River. And this was by the Pope. This is a Pope-dedicated seminary. Only special people get to go to this seminary because the Pope is the one who started it. And then their sash that they wear is red sashes. They're totally different, and because that designates them as special priests by the Pope. So that went there. And
Your first year of high school?
first year of high school. Never been away from home. Can you imagine that? Going on the train, we rode the train, 3 of us in a compartment. I don't know how we did it. So then,
Did you have to get the priest to write a letter so you could go to there? Or?
no, Father Howard was the one that got it arranged that
Right,
the
right.
3 of us would go. Yeah, I'm sure that.
Well, he set it all up.
Yeah, he set it all up. And then went back there, and then I guess we came home in between for Christmas. I'm trying to think. Must have. And then went back, and they had a rule where you couldn't have anything, candy or anything else that you brought in. So that's, I remember going back again. You know, we had all the candy bars and stuff, and they confiscated it all from you. And during that time, it was so cold back there, I learned how to ice skate. And I remember they were telling me you could ice skate on this beautiful black pond, and it turned out it was a damn septic tank. And I fell on
And
this
you
septic
ice
tank.
skated with ankles that had gone
Yeah.
through Kent. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it was a good experience, but it was a sad experience. I mean, because during that period of time
Why was it
also,
sad?
being away from home,
You were
He
sad.
was too young.
I was sad. And then, in addition to that, I had appendicitis. I was sitting at the desk one day, and I
Oh,
got
yeah.
the attack, and it grabbed me, and I got wrapped around the desk, and I couldn't get away, so they had to pry me off the desk and rush me to a hospital in Columbus, Ohio. And here I am, I had my appendix out in the damn hospital, all by myself.
No family.
No family, nothing. So that's
Sure.
very traumatic. When you come back, and it was a regimented, you ate this time, you slept this time, and it was just
So did you want to go, or did your mother
Yeah.
want you to go?
probably both.
Okay.
No, and then I guess you got mixed emotions. Anyway, this girl was in grade school with me, and I was madly in love with her. Oh, she was a darling. She was just cute as could be. And her old man then turned out, she lived pretty close to the Hyatt grade school too. But then I left, and when I left that year, her old man became the superintendent of the mines. And they left Bisbee and moved down to Warren to a superintendent's house, and all of a sudden she became a muckety-muck, and she was a high polloi, muckety-muck. Up till then we were madly in love. So then when I came back, she'd have nothing to do with me, because I lived up Bisbee, because it was class distinction. If you lived in Warren, you were the hoity-toity, and if you lived in Bisbee, you were the ragamuffins. And so we were the ragamuffins. But anyway, when we had the high school reunion, she
There's
called
food.
me. Huh? Yeah. She called me and said, "Are you coming to the high school reunion?" Oh yeah, we had a long conversation. I couldn't remember who the hell she was to save my life. And I hung up, I got to thinking there. So I said, "Oh, Joanie, I know who that is now. I was madly in love with that girl." So I called her and we had a more conversation. Yeah, that was her.
You better
Okay.
say this is the 50th.
50th high school reunion. So Joanie and I, we go, okay? And Joanie says, "Let's find her. Let's see what she looks
I
like."
says, I want to see this beautiful woman.
And so we go there and everybody knows me. And they grab you and kiss you and hug you, pat you on the butt. "Oh, Jerry, you look so good. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're a little so-so. Yeah, so-so."
He must have had a lot of girlfriends.
And cousin Joy says, "How the hell do you know all these people?"
And he knew their names, knew everything.
I said, "Well, Jody, look at it this way. If you're born in that town, raised in that town, you go to school with people for 12 years, and then you go to high school with them for 4 years, well, yes, you know them."
Yeah.
And before you even went to school.
Yeah. So anyway, we finally sat at this table, and this lady comes over. She's got an ass that is 6X angles across and has a moo-moo on, and it turned out this is a girl
This
that has
is Kay.
This is Kay. And
Joan's happy.
Jones
She's like, "I got it over on her."
And you go, "Oh, shit, I couldn't believe it." Oh, and you smile, "Oh, yeah." What an illusion, you know.
Yeah.
You're thinking about this. You get a picture of her. She was a doll, but you know, anyway, that was another. So anyway, that was that. So where the hell was I on the other?
And you had just come back from Tucson. You were in the seminary with your two buddies, Tony and what's the other guy?
John O'Malley.
John O'Malley. So what happened to Tony and John?
I don't know. John O'Malley still lives here someplace. He went into the service, and he was in the service for 30-odd years.
You didn't stay after that first year. did you?
No, I came, and those guys stayed for 3. They finished high school there.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. And Tony Verdugo's in L.A. someplace. He one Christmas out of the middle of nowhere, he called, "Wish me Merry Christmas." That's all I know where he is. And then I came back to Bisbee and entered high school there and finished off high school there. And
You were a good student.
no, average. Yeah, I belonged to all those societies. Hell, I knew everybody, every club that you could think of I belonged to. No athletics. Yeah, I was on the debate team and this and that and the other. And
No music instruments.
no athletics, no music. I learned to chew tobacco until I was at a basketball game, first time chewing it, and got up and yelled, and I swallowed it, and got violently sick, so I never chewed tobacco
That's the end of
again.
that.
I was into
Good.
chewing tobacco. Never smoked, drank a lot though, because you go down to Mexico, because the mayor's kid was in our class from Naco, Sonora. So we used to go down there and bum around with him all the time. Because how you can go get a shot of tequila for a dime or a nickel, or dance with the girls, and
It was
crowd
But
around.
you never had a bicycle or a car?
No. Well, yeah, car eventually. Yeah, that was when I was a senior. I finally got a car, and we were shooting pool at Wallace's Pool Hall. I didn't have the money. I was working for Phelps Dodge in the office, and I kept putting all my money in a savings account. Didn't have a checking account, but I was helping my mom out with money, buying stuff for them, and extra money I had, I always put into the savings account. So then,
Your grandpa was working for APS?
yeah, and so this guy was leaving to go into the service, and he had a 1937 Chevrolet Roadster that he wanted to sell. And he says, "I'll sell it to you for $100. Well, I didn't know how to drive. But I figured, oh hell, $100, that's a damn good deal.
I'll learn.
So, yeah, I'll learn. So then old man Wallace was in there, and Wallace, when we lived up on Higgins Hill, he was a neighbor, so he knew the family. So I said, "Hey, look, I can get the money out of the bank tomorrow, but I can't do it today. Will you lend me $100? He said, well, write me a check. I said, I don't have a checking account. He said, just write the check, and I'll cash the check, and then tomorrow you can come back and pay me and get your check back. Okay, fine. So I did. So he gave me the $100. So I gave it to this guy, and we walked down, and it was parked right next to the main post office. That's in the main drag of town.
Right.
Okay.
Right
That was the
downtown.
only drag.
Well, it's only drag. There's no other drag. But right next, here's the post office, and right there's a damn parking lot.
Right.
I mean, it was parked right there. So, okay, so I bought this thing. So I sat down, and he showed me what the gears were, what the brakes were, and the clutch, and how to do it. And that was my driving lessons.
Oh my God.
So I go back to the pool hall, and I call my dad. I said, Dad, I just bought a car. Will you come down and bring it home? Hey, Bob, effing car, you can get that goddamn thing home. So I said, well, what the hell am I going to do? I guess I'll learn to drive. So I went down and started that
You didn't have a
sucker.
driver's license?
No.
Didn't,
No insurance, no driver's license.
didn't
nothing.
occur to you, or
No.
it didn't matter?
Didn't matter. What the hell?
What the hell?
Hell, I had a car. What the hell difference does it make? Drive the damn thing.
You don't need a license to catch a fish. You don't need a license to drive a
He
car.
was 17.
So then I backed the thing out, and I decided. Then I was heading down towards Warren. Oh, hell, I might as well drive down to the hell I could do. So I drive to Warren, drive around, and then drive back. And right in front of the police station, the damn bus stopped. And I slammed on the brakes and ran into the rear end of the damn bus. Fortunately, in those days, the damn bumper on those things were iron. You couldn't kill them. I mean, they wrapped around the whole thing. So, and the bus, he didn't even know I hit him. He just kept going after he stopped and let the passenger. He kept going. I said, thank God. And the policeman didn't say a damn word. And I just drove on home, parked in front of the house, and because I couldn't
Forgot
drive.
to tell him that you drove him first because you never could get him off.
Oh, I don't know. So
That's what you told me.
then I parked in front of the house because I wasn't about to drive up that damn hill. So I really caught hell for buying a damn car. And then I drove that thing for a long time until one time I parked it there. Well, I did get insurance on it, fortunately, and from Hartford Insurance Company. And that was next to where I used to wash dishes in this old restaurant next to it. That's another story. So got to Hartford Insurance, and then that parked it there next to the house on the main drag. One time a guy came and hit it from the rear end, and it went across the street and went down in the gully.
Oh,
And that was the end of that car.
oh wow.
Tow truck came and pulled it out of the gully.
Yeah.
It was all.
That was it. So I collected the insurance. Unfortunately, I had the insurance and paid for that. And then shortly after that's when I graduated and went to Tempe to go to school. I graduated on a Thursday night, caught the bus Friday morning, met my sister that Friday afternoon at Tempe. She put me up into the teak house because she knew this guy, put me up for a week in the teak house, but then that was Friday afternoon. We had dinner together Friday night. She left Saturday to go to Colorado Springs to become a house mother. And I was all alone again in Tempe to go to school. So I spent that weekend, that Saturday and Sunday there. Monday, I went down and got a job working in the post office. And I just
On
stayed
campus?
on campus. And I stayed
So it was summertime?
year round. Yeah, that
No,
was
he
summer.
was all the time.
Yeah, but that was summertime.
Right.
But he stayed on. and
So I
he was
entered summer
for
school right
years.
away and just stayed there year round and went to school
He kept the job all the
And
time.
how did you pay for college?
with that job.
So you didn't have money to enroll, or you'd save some from the different odd jobs?
Well,
The car insurance.
I guess.
You
Didn't
had
have
money
money.
when you left from the PD, didn't you? And you
Yeah, I had money,
to
yes.
start
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
But to keep going to school and to eat.
I had about 7 different jobs on campus. that I got paid for. Delivered newspapers in the morning, delivered newspapers at night. I worked for the state press delivering their paper. Worked for the Alumni Association. I took tickets at all the athletic events. I worked in the post office. Anything, well, at night I flipped hamburgers and tended bar even though I wasn't old enough to buy drinks. I could serve drinks. I worked in the bar at the Phantom Wing.
Now, is that a bar on
Yeah,
campus?
no, it's a bar. It's not even there
Out in
anymore.
Mesa,
And
by an airport in Mesa, Phantom Wing.
Oh, sure. Makes sense. Well, how did you get around campus? Did you
Walk.
have a car? Or?
and for the first year, and then I bought a car. I don't know what year that. My first car must have been a 27. Yeah, and then the next car was a 37 Chevrolet. The first car was a 27. Excuse me.
Did your brothers come up to Tempe and see you?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll tell you about that. That's when I lived in the fraternity house. And they would come up and spend almost one summer with me up there. And they remember that.
Mhm.
And I helped my mother buy a washing machine when I was, real young. We bought an easy spin dry washing machine, and then later on she donated it to the fraternity to help pay for my rent in the fraternity. I remember that. I don't know how they got that up there.
Well, your dad had that old Chevy truck.
Yeah, but that belonged to the company. That belonged to Arizona Public Service.
He had an old Chevy truck because I drove it.
Could be. Yeah.
And then you met in college?
Yeah. I was running the post office, and Joanie came from Chicago, and she didn't know what dorm she was going to be in or anything, so she just had her mail sent to ASU. And my job was to go down early in the morning and pick up the mail and all the mail sacks, bring them back to the post office there and dump them out and sort them all out and put them in all these boxes early. And so she would come and ask for her mail. Well, the first time I didn't do much about it, and then after that I started writing notes on her letters. On the outside I said, "Dear Passion Flower, you're beautiful. I really like you." And she said,
Go out with me. Go out with me. Another
she says,
guy.
"You're defacing the mail. You can't do this." I said, "What the hell if I can't? I run the damn post office. I do whatever I want." So then there was a window. This was down in the basement. There was a window that went up, and like this was a sidewalk. The window was right here and
Sure.
opened up. So when
Okay.
you walked by, all you could see was some legs and little butts. She used to wear these short shorts and come walking by and would go her butt in front of that window so I would notice her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you did. Come on.
She got you hooked.
Yeah.
So these letters were from your mom and dad? Or?
No, her boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
That's why I wrote on.
Right, I wasn't sure. I kind of thought, but
So I kept asking her to go out with me and go out with me, and she never would, never would. So finally there was a formal dance at another dorm that she didn't, wasn't in. Hell, I knew everybody, so I could go to any dorm party I wanted to. Hell, I knew everybody on campus, being the mailman. And so I asked her to go, and I guess she said yes because she wanted to go.
I wanted to go to that dorm. I wanted to see it. All these girls that
She
lived there.
used you.
Yes.
Yes. So I picked her up, and we went to the dorm and partied, and we danced and had a nice time, and then we came home, took
you
her back.
must have been at college for quite some time before you met Mom.
Yeah. He was 2 years ahead of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait about 5 more minutes on this.
So
We went to
then,
this dance at the dorm.
yeah, and then brought her home back to her dorm, and we were sitting there, and I told her, "I'm going to marry you. I love you. I'm going to marry you."
Mhm.
She says, "You're a stupid idiot." Got out of the car and slammed the door and went running into her dorm. Wouldn't talk to me for a hell of a long time after that. But on the first date I told her she was neat, and so I thought I was going to marry her.